Am I the asshole for boycotting our family reunion tradition because of my narcissistic uncle's wife? My granddad was a family man, he has 9 kids, my mom and her 3 sisters and 5 of my uncles. For decades he maintained this yearly tradition of family reunion, summer, the 10th of August of each year. He used to make sure every single one of his children and grandchildren would be there, take a list and call us by name one by one. No excuses. Work. Take a week off. Sick. You can still come. Only extreme situations could grant you a pass. I, and my 2 siblings, always hated this reunion. Meeting family members usually ends either with a fight or an insinuation contest. But my mom always warns us against anything except a smile. 1 week per year isn't going to kill you, she says. So far everything was acceptable, until last year's reunion. I work out of town, it takes a 5-hour drive to reach home, and another 3-hour drive to reach my granddad's house. So yeah, no excuses, lol. I drove the 8 hours in this scorching heat, grabbed mom on my way, my other siblings drove their own cars so no worries. I forgot to mention that my father passed away in February due to heart failure, so this reunion was already a little harder for us than usual. We reached our destination, unpacked, and prepared for a week's vacation. We arrived kind of late, so everyone was already there, including my youngest Uncle John and his wife Sarah. Everybody greeted us except her. She looked us up and down with a smirky face and said, "Glad you didn't fail your way here. We already had enough of those this year, didn't we?" Everyone went silent for a full minute. Words can't describe how shocked we were, and Mom was on the verge of tears, until Grandpa showed up with a big smile and yelled, "My lovely daughter is here. Come here, you," and hugged all of us. Sarah is the typical narcissistic bitch. Everyone warned my uncle not to marry her but he did anyway. They have 2 kids, Gina, 6, and Brad, 4. Brad is the extension of his mom, so rude, 0 respect for elders, he even takes the liberty of grabbing people's stuff and breaking it. Remember him, because he's the center of the story later. Fast forward to that evening, everyone was busy with something, preparing food, cutting meat for the barbecue, prepping wood for the fire, setting up tables and dishes, etc. Until we heard a wild sound of glass breaking in the living room. It was a collection of vintage glass figurines my grandma had been collecting for decades. She had dozens of them displayed carefully in a glass cabinet in the living room, tiny glass animals, flowers, and handcrafted pieces she'd picked up from different places over the years. Every piece had a story behind it, and she treated them like they were priceless, even the ones that weren't worth much money. He didn't break 1, or 2, or even 5, he broke all of them. All 50 figurines. We all rushed in there. He wasn't hurt. Grandma suppressed her deep pain and, with a shaking voice, said, "It's okay, son, glad you're not hurt." Sarah, the bitch she is, screamed, "I can't believe this, you knew we'd be bringing children here and you didn't hide this kind of stuff. What if he was hurt?" Believe it or not, my grandma ended up apologizing to her. Fast forward, we spent that night without any problems. My aunts, including my mother, offered to make it up to her, but Grandma refused. She said the value came from the memory each figurine held, not the figurine itself, so buying them back wouldn't change anything. The next day, I was sitting in our room doing remote work, an urgent deal for a client that could cost him thousands of dollars if not done on time. I had this red laptop I'd gotten years ago, shiny and well designed, everybody liked it, I'd added a few stickers to the lid that made it even more appealing. My room was close to Sarah and John's room. I left the door open and went to the kitchen to grab something to eat. I came back 30 minutes later and found Brad on my laptop, hitting the screen and tapping harshly on the keyboard. I rushed over and took it out of his hands, luckily I got there in time, right when he started. He screamed and threw a tantrum until his mom showed up. I told her what he was doing, and she angrily said, "My son is expressing himself, and the last thing I want is someone making him feel guilty for being curious. He's a child. Maybe instead of blaming him, you should learn to close your door." I almost snapped, but I remembered how important this was to Mom, and how upset she'd get if I ruined it for her. I swallowed it, left, and closed my door this time. I didn't finish that deal, figured since we had another day, I could finish it on time. The rest of the day was normal. Evening was the usual, we ate, sat together, Grandpa and Grandma told us stories about their adventures. My grandpa was a professional photographer and my grandma was an art collector. They traveled the world and had many souvenirs and stories to tell. The next day, I sat down with my laptop to finish that deal. It was too hot in my room, so I went downstairs to the living room. I noticed Brad was staring at my laptop, he was obsessed with it, so I braced myself in case he decided to do something stupid. Until I heard Grandpa yelling from outside, asking for help carrying groceries. He'd gone into town because we'd quickly run out of everything over the past 2 days, I guess a good appetite runs in our veins, lol. I went to help him. Came back, and my laptop was gone. For a second I forgot about Brad, my heart dropped, I started running like a maniac, looking left and right, until I spotted him in the garden, hitting it with a decorative rock. I literally started seeing red and charged toward him. He saw me, then quickly ran toward the fountain. I understood exactly what he wanted to do, he wanted to throw it in the water. My body was shaking in a way it never had before. I lost control, I didn't know what I was doing. The deal was very important, more than $650,000 was in jeopardy, my reputation and my hopes for a promotion were all riding on it. Unfortunately, I didn't reach him in time. My laptop ended up at the bottom of the fountain. Everyone gathered, probably drawn by my screaming while I chased him. As expected, Sarah showed up, saw me shaking like a madman and her son laughing about what he'd done. As she opened her mouth to say, "I told you so," I walked up to her, looked her straight in the eyes, and gave her the hardest slap my arm could deliver. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Grandpa and Grandma." I don't remember much of what happened next, because I was in shock. All I remember is one of my uncles grabbing me and taking me home, while she stood there crying and threatening to sue. The client fired us for negligence. My company dropped me from the promotion track. They even wanted to fire me outright, but my boss defended me. We were close, and he knew the laptop had meant something to me too. I swore to never go to a family reunion again as long as she'd be there. My granddad and mom understood my decision and never pressed me to come back. Sarah ended up not pressing charges. Grandpa told John that if they ever pressed charges against me, he'd disown him and his wife. They'd already done too much damage. Fast forward to this year, Grandpa invited me and made sure John and Sarah wouldn't be there. I agreed. Mom will be happy, and that's the most important thing to me now.